Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you own a modern vehicle, or you're even thinking about buying one, you are relying on some pretty wild technology.
Oh, absolutely. Stuff that's almost science fiction.
Your car can brake for you, it can keep itself in the lane, monitor your blind spots. We're talking about advanced driver assistance systems, ADAS.
Right. But today, we're diving into the hidden risk that comes after all that cool tech is installed.
Or more accurately, after it's been accidentally moved.
Exactly. We're looking at the source material you sent over on vehicle maintenance and calibration, and we're really going to focus on the absolute need for precision.
Our mission here is to arm you with the right questions to ask at the repair shop.
Because the line between a working safety system and, frankly, a catastrophic failure can come down to just a matter of millimeters.
Millimeters. I mean, not inches, not even centimeters. That right there should get your attention.
It really should.
This is a critical modern safety issue. It affects millions of cars, but it's often missed during really common maintenance, like, say, getting a chip in your windshield fixed. So we're going to get you up to speed on this invisible danger, quickly but thoroughly.
Okay, so let's define the key terms here. We mentioned ADS. These are all those sophisticated systems.
Like automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assist.
Right, AEB, LKA, adaptive cruise control, pedestrian detection. They're basically the car's extra eyes and reflexes.
And they use what? Cameras, radar.
A whole array of sensors, high-res cameras, radar units that are often hidden behind bumpers, and sometimes even LiDAR.
And calibration is the necessary evil, I guess, or the necessary science to keep them working right.
Precisely. Calibration is the whole process of adjusting and reprogramming those sensors so they're aimed perfectly, aligned, and feeding accurate data to the car's main computer.
Is making sure the car sees the world the way it's supposed to.
Yes. And this is where that whole millimeters thing becomes so incredibly important.
Okay, so explain that. How does a tiny physical shift, translate into a real-world danger? Most people probably think, how can moving a camera in the mirror mount by a hair even matter?
Okay, think of it like this. Your ADAS camera is basically a high-powered telescope.
Okay.
Or maybe a sniper scope. It's mounted on your car. If the base of that scope is tilted by just 1 millimeter...
The width of a paperclip.
Exactly. The point it's aimed at, say 200 feet down the road, could be off by several feet.
Wow, that's a massive compounding error.
It is. So if your camera is reading the lane markings, that 1 millimeter offset means what the system thinks is the center of the lane.
Could actually be the shoulder.
Or worse, the oncoming traffic lane, especially when you're moving at highway speeds. The error just magnifies.
So the main takeaway here is immediate. An uncalibrated system isn't just a little less effective, it's actively feeding wrong information to the car's brain.
It fundamentally breaks the entire safety chain.
All right, let's unpack that. Where are the moments that this precise alignment is most likely to get messed up? What are the trigger points you need to watch out for?
Well, the sources are really clear that the triggers can sound deceptively mundane. The number one culprit is windshield replacement.
Just getting a new windshield.
Yep. If you get a chip and need new glass, those ADS cameras are often mounted right on the glass or its bracket. Any tiny shift when they reinstall it requires a full recalibration.
And millions of people get that service every year without a second thought.
Exactly. Beyond that, the sources point to any kind of front-end work.
A collision, obviously.
Obviously a collision, but also minor fender benders.
Right.
Even just maintenance that requires taking the front bumper off and putting it back on.
Why the bumper?
That's where the radar units are usually mounted, right behind the plastic cover. Just reattaching that cover can shift the sensor's position enough to cause a problem.
So if you've had any of that done, your system could be compromised. Okay, let's talk failure modes. You mentioned two types, and one is definitely the real villain here.
For sure.
Let's start with the one that's more of a behavioral risk, the false positive.
A false positive is when the system triggers for no reason. It sees a threat that just isn't there.
So your forward collision warning goes off on a totally empty road.
Right, or the pedestrian detection keeps beeping because of a shadow or, a plastic bag blowing across the street.
That sounds annoying, but how does that become a major safety risk? It's not actually causing a crash.
But it creates a secondary and very real danger.
Yeah.
It leads you to experience something called alert fatigue.
The system cries wolf too many times.
Precisely. You instinctively lose confidence in it. You start ignoring the warnings, you treat them like glitches, or Worst case scenario, you just go into the settings and turn the whole system off.
So you've paid all this money for an advanced safety net that you've just mentally or physically disconnected because it drove you crazy.
You've replaced a small, annoying error with complete vulnerability. But the true threat, the one that causes the really bad accidents, is the false negative.
This is when the system fails to act.
When it absolutely should have.
Give us some of the high-stakes scenarios. What are the most dangerous examples the sources bring up?
We have to start with automatic emergency braking, AEB. This is your absolute last line of defense. If your uncalibrated radar or camera misreads the distance to a car that stops suddenly up ahead, the AEB system might not engage at all. Or it engages way too late.
And you're guaranteed to have a rear-end collision. That's the nightmare scenario right there.
It is. Another big one is blind spot monitoring. If those sensors in your rear bumper or mirrors are misaligned, they might completely miss a car merging into the lane next to you.
Or they might think a guardrail is empty space.
Exactly. And it gets even scarier when we talk about systems that actively control the car, not just warn you.
You're talking about adaptive cruise control and lane keeping assist.
This is where real instability gets introduced into your driving. With adaptive cruise, the system has to measure distance precisely. If it's off, it might follow way too closely.
Or it might do the opposite, right? Slam on the brakes for no reason.
Yes, it might brake aggressively and unnecessarily because it thinks the car ahead is much closer than it is. And sudden, hard braking on a highway is a huge hazard.
And with lane keeping assist, LKA, it's actually fighting you if it's wrong.
Absolutely. The LKA system is getting bad data from that misaligned camera. So if the camera thinks the lane lines are a few millimeters to the left,
the car will try to correct for it.
It will apply a subtle but constant torque to the steering wheel, actively pulling you toward the shoulder or, into the next lane. All of a sudden, you're fighting your own car.
The insight is so clear. The tech itself becomes the risk, not the solution. And it all goes back to those tiny little shifts.
It's the price of sophistication. The more advanced it is, the more critical that precision becomes.
So if these systems are that precise, I have to assume the fix isn't, a simple plug-and-play thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk logistics. How is this calibration actually done?
This is really critical for you to know when you take your car in. The process typically involves one of two main approaches, static and dynamic calibration.
Okay, let's start with static. What does static mean here?
It means the car is completely stationary and the environment is 100% controlled.
In a shop.
Right. Technicians use these highly specialized targets. Think of them like large, high-res checkerboards or specific patterns, and they place them at exact distances and heights from the vehicle.
It sounds like something you do in a lab.
It basically is. It requires a perfectly level floor, specific lighting, and special tools to measure everything. If the floor isn't level, the whole calibration fails.
Which really highlights why your average mechanic probably can't do this.
Not without the right equipment. And then you have the second method, dynamic calibration.
Dynamic, so the car's moving.
Correct. For this, a technician has to drive the vehicle under very specific conditions defined by the manufacturer.
Like what?
It might mean driving between, say, 45 and 65 miles per hour for 15 or 20 minutes on a road with really clear lane markings.
So why do they have to do that? Can't it all be done in the shop?
Well, the dynamic process lets the sensors learn the environment in real time. They fine-tune for things like road curvature, making sure the alignment from the static test holds up under real driving stress. Some systems actually require this learning phase.
So we're talking about a 1 to 3 hour technical procedure. It needs expensive equipment, certified techs, and following strict protocols. This is not an oil change.
Not at all. And that brings us right to the cost, which really we should frame as an investment against a collision, not just a repair fee.
What's the typical cost you should expect for something like this?
Looking across the sources, the range is usually between, say, $150 and $400.
Maybe a bit more for high-end luxury cars?
Yeah, if they have more complex sensor arrays with multiple radar and LiDAR units, it can go up.
That really puts the SOS into perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You could easily spend $400 on new tires, but here we're talking about spending that to make sure your automatic emergency braking actually works.
It's an investment in crash mitigation. When you compare that cost to your insurance deductible, or the premium hike after an accident, or just the physical cost of a collision, the calibration fee is tiny.
And is this something insurance might cover?
Often, yes. If the calibration is needed because of a covered repair, like a windshield replacement from a claim, many insurance companies will include it. You definitely need to check with your provider.
And you mentioned some other practical benefits like maintaining your warranty.
Absolutely. Manufacturers are getting stricter about this. If you have a system failure and you can't show proof of proper calibration after a repair, they might just deny the warranty claim.
It also helps with resale value, I imagine.
For sure. It's a detail that smart buyers are starting to look for.
Okay, let's wrap this up with some things you can actually use. If I'm driving my car today, how do I know if I might need calibration?
Well, start with the most obvious one, dashboard warning lights.
What would they say?
You'll see specific messages pop up. Lane keeping assist unavailable, or forward collision warning malfunction. That's a clear sign the system has failed its own self-check.
What about the more subtle clues? The behavioral shifts that don't trigger a light?
Those are crucial. If your parking sensors suddenly seem way off or your blind spot monitor flashes when there's nothing there, that's a hint.
Or the lane keeping assist we talked about?
Yes, pay attention to that. If it feels sluggish or it overcorrects or it struggles to find the lane on a road where it used to be perfect, that's a huge behavioral cue that the camera angle is off.
But the real proactive check comes down to your service records, right? You shouldn't wait for a problem.
100%. If you've had any recent front-end work windshield, bumper, mirrors, no matter how minor, you have to verify that ADAS calibration was performed and documented.
Because the system's effectiveness could already be diminished even if you don't feel it yet.
Exactly. The problem is already there.
So, to pull this all together, we learned that precision is everything, that those tiny millimeter shifts lead to huge errors. We know the false negatives, where the system fails to act, are the real danger here.
Right.
And finally, that this is a small investment compared to the massive risk of a collision.
And that's really the essence of it. Calibration is what turns these advanced features from, just sophisticated software into reliable, life-saving tools.
It's the difference between a dependable second set of eyes and an expensive, unreliable gimmick.
That's a perfect way to say it.
It really makes you appreciate the engineering in modern cars.
Yeah.
I mean, if these systems, which are designed to save your life, rely on millimeter-level precision after routine work, it kind of raises a bigger question.
Which is?
What other seemingly minor details that are often overlooked during maintenance, like, I don't know, tire pressure sensor alignment after you get new tires, or a suspension alignment after hitting a bad pothole? What else might be subtly compromising your safety without you even knowing it?
It makes you want to go back and look at your entire maintenance history with a critical eye.
Exactly. So check those service records and look for that ADS calibration documentation. Might just be the most important piece of paper you have for your car's safety.